This is Women's Rights by Riley Wilson. What is the importance of women's rights? Women's rights are recognized as fundamental human rights, essential for assuring equality and justice in society. Women's rights are also crucial for achieving gender equality, social justice, and overall societal progress, as they empower women and also contribute to communities. History of women's rights turning points in America. In 1866, the 14th Amendment is passed by Congress, with citizens and voters defined as male in the Constitution. In 1872, female federal workers, but not private sector workers, are guaranteed equal pay for equal work under the law. In 1873, the Supreme Court rules that a state has the right to exclude a married woman from practicing law. In 1890, the first state, Wyoming, grants women the right to vote in all elections. In 1918, Margaret Sanger, 2 years after opening a birth control clinic in Brooklyn, wins her suit in New York to allow doctors to advertise to their married patients about birth control for health purposes. In 1932, many women lose their jobs during the National Recovery Act because only one family member was allowed to hold a job, and the women were expected to stay home and watch the children. Women's rights leaders in history. Elizabeth Cady Stanton is known as an author, academic, and one of the figureheads of women's rights movements in the mid to late 1800s. Sojourner Truth was a brave woman who escaped slavery. She gave powerful speeches asking for equal rights for black women and women. Rose Scott was an Australian activist who invited leaders to her home to talk about women's rights. In 1902, she started a group that helped raise the age of sexual consent to 16. Simone de Beauvoir. Simone was a French writer who helped shape modern feminism. Her 1949 book, The Second Sex, showed how society treated women unfairly and inspired calls for equality. The origin of women's rights. Women's rights have been a global issue since ancient times. For example, in China, women would bind their feet. In Rome, women could not vote, hold office, or serve in the military. And in Athens, women weren't even considered citizens. Religious books like the Bible, Quran, and other religious texts support inequality of women. Even in the Enlightenment, philosophers did not support equal rights for genders. Women in the workforce. Most women did not work in the United States in the early 20th century. In the Industrial Revolution, women began to enter the workforce in larger numbers. Mainly in factories during World War I, women took roles mainly held by men. The suffrage movement in the early 20th century laid the groundwork for women's rights in the workplace. Women fought for equal pay and better working conditions, which led to significant labor movements and strikes. In the mid-20th century, women began to enter higher education and professional fields, although they still faced discrimination and lower wages compared to men. Reproductive rights in the history. Women like Margaret Sanger and Mary Ware Dennett were early influences of women's right to contraception and sex education. Their efforts allowed future generations to have that education, as well as having birth control as an option. The 1960s is when the introduction of the birth control pill happened, which allowed women for the first time to impede pregnancy on their own terms. In 1973, Roe v. Wade took the stand, which argued the topic of abortion for women and was on a mission to defund organizations like Planned Parenthood. Legal frameworks. Roe v. Wade debated abortion rights and works to defund Planned Parenthood and organizations like it. Roe v. Wade is actually still a current problem and is still affecting many women to this day. Griswold versus Connecticut. Married couples have a constitutional right to use birth control. Merito Savings Bank versus Vincent. Sexual harassment in the workplace is a violation of the Civil Rights Act. Hopkins versus Children's Hospital. This established minimum wages for women, highlighting the need for equal pay for equal work. Johnson v. Transportation Agency. This ruled that considering an employee's sex as a factor in promotion eligibility is not discrimination. Women's rights today in 2025. Women's rights is still an ongoing issue today. Some issues still ongoing are gender equality, conflict and crisis, and unfortunately violence against women. In conclusion, women's rights have been a topic that is widely discussed in history, from ancient times to current day in 2025. Women have been discriminated against, paid unfairly, and treated with utter disrespect since the beginning of time. But with women all over the country fighting for justice, we can all unite and encourage respect for women everywhere in the world. Thank you.